Here with A23D, and today I'm just going to take some time to do some troubleshooting with the SpiritBro board for people who are having trouble with the function button. And so if you have the latest version 2.1 board here, there's terminals on the bottom, and basically you connect your function button on the wand hose into this, and that way you can control different things like the music mode on the FranklinGeek board, or manual venting, or on the Spirit board there's some other settings. I won't go into details on that. It's all kind of described in the manual, but I just wanted to kind of outline some basic troubleshooting steps for people who are having issues where this function button isn't working. And basically we can use that to determine if it's the button or the board. And a couple ways we can do that is we can first look, here is the actual function button that comes with most kits. It is a simple little micro push button switch that is attached inside here, and it has just 2 wires soldered to it and then some hot glue just kind of keep things from moving around too much. In some cases, when you're twisting your wand around a lot and everything, this is moving, if this ever breaks free, it can bust those solder terminals off, and then the button won't work. And basically at that point you can actually disassemble this. It has 2 screws, and then when you unscrew these, this whole centerpiece comes out, and then you can actually slowly with a pair of pliers work the button out if you want to, or you can get a soldering iron in there and retack the wires very carefully. It's a little tricky. But basically what we need to determine when there's problems with the function button is it the button or is it the board? So first we'll just look at the button, and really what you need to do this is a multimeter, kind of like this is a little more fancy one, but essentially you want to set it in continuity mode like this one. So when you touch your 2 terminals here, your probes, it beeps for continuity. That basically is determining if there's a circuit. So if a circuit is present, then it will beep. And what you can do then is, like, you can just take these probes, and this is a little bit tricky to do this with one hand. So I'm actually going to cheat and use some different probes on my meter here. And this actually makes it easier too for anybody, is the clip type probes, the alligator clips. And what you can do is you can just clamp onto a wire. So I'm going to switch out to those right now, and then we can see what will happen when, okay. So then I can just clamp. It doesn't matter positive or negative because this is not polarity sensitive, it's a button. So then, okay, so you can see I'm getting continuity right now, which means this button is actually, it's kind of interesting that it's doing that. So this button is broken, and that's because it's locked in the on position at this point. So if I push down on it, see, it's stuck. This is a defective one, and now it's stuck down, and it won't. There's no continuity there. So if you don't hear, when you push the button down, if you don't hear the beeping, that means that the button itself is probably bad, or the wiring is bad to the button, and you can troubleshoot that. Here's an actual button itself, and I will just go ahead and just clamp this to show this better. But it's kind of nice having a broken thing on hand for certain things, but not for others. So when we clamp this, when we push this down, you see how it beeps to let us know that there's continuity. So that would tell us if the actual button is bad or good. So yeah, again, if it's not showing continuity, when you press down on the button, that means you have a break in the wire somewhere, or the solder connection to the button is bad, or the button itself is bad, and you can kind of troubleshoot from there. And of course you can contact me if you need a replacement on those, and I can get things working out for you. Now the other thing is on the board. So if you determine the button works fine, the wiring is all good, you'd actually have to check the board. And these 2 terminals here are actually what you can kind of do some quick checking here. So if you're holding the board up like this terminal here on the I believe the left here. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's not the one I want. Okay, so yes, the terminal on the right, this is a ground. So basically, anytime that, like if you took a probe and stuck it on this right part of this, and then you stuck it on any of the ground points on the board, like the shield on the USB-C port, the ground on the other terminal block, you're going to get a continuity because that ground should always be grounded to every ground on the board. Now the other one is the important one. This is the one that tells the microcontroller, this little guy right here, when this button's pressed. So what happens is when you press the button, it basically completes the circuit and sends the ground into this pin, which sends it to the microcontroller on pin number 9. And if you look really closely, there's some tiny, tiny text. There's pin number 9 there, which is right here. And pin 9 is where that is routing to. So what you want to do is do a quick continuity check between the left pin on this terminal and pin 9. You hear how that, for me, that is, let me get out of the way so you can kind of see it. See, here we are. That shows continuity. So what that means at that point is that this terminal block is connected to this microcontroller. If you do that and you don't get a beep, then that means there's a fault in this board, and that is most likely a bad solder joint, which I can probably send you a new board, or that is something we can check. Depending on how handy you are, you could try and resolder the pin on this microcontroller, or taking the board off this tray and then resoldering the pin on this. Sometimes if people work these too hard, you can bust the solder joints on those. So that's something to just kind of look out for. And but again, if that is continuous between that, and that's continuous as well, when you push the button, then that means the software in the board is probably bad, or this actual microcontroller is defective. So the next step would be to actually try and reflash the firmware on this with the latest firmware that's available on the GitHub for A23D, and then that will assist you in doing that. And basically, with that latest firmware, that should work. And if you got to make sure you get the right firmware for the board, because they have 3 different types of boards with different firmware, and they have different configurations. So if I sent you a board with the wrong firmware, which occasionally happens because I get pretty busy, then it can actually, the function button might not work, and the fix might just be reflashing that board. But if we try all of those things, new firmware, we've checked all the continuity is good, and it still doesn't work, then yes, you need a board replacement, and we can help you out. But hopefully that kind of explains what's going on here, and that will assist you in troubleshooting and determining where the fault is. But in most cases, what it usually is someone is not attaching these wires very well to these terminal blocks, and so they're falling out, or there's a break in the wire. That can happen for various reasons. Or like I said, the wires can pull off of here from this being rotated a lot. And that's just, unfortunately, kind of a side effect of wear and tear on these things. I'm always looking for better ways to, make this more durable and improve that. But yeah, hopefully that helps out. And if it doesn't, give me a call or a message, I guess, online, or send us an email, and I will get back to you and help you get your system all working again. Thanks for watching.